Hello YouTubers, welcome back to my channel. First of all, I have to confess I'm a complete idiot because when I was recording my review of the Intemporel nail varnish about an hour ago, I was complaining that the light was so bad because it looked as if we were about to have a heavy snowstorm. The sky was so grey and overcast, it was almost like night. And it turns out that, in fact, there was a total eclipse of the sun going on, which had kind of passed me by. I think I had heard it was going to happen and not kind of computed it was happening on Friday morning. And I will say that, in fact, it was totally obscured for us here in London because there was such a lot of cloud anyway. But that kind of explains why it was so miserably dark well into the morning. Anyway, that's a side story. I'm here now to show you the other item that I purchased from the Intemporel collection from Chanel, and that's the eye palette. And I'm immediately realising that I meant to get one of the ordinary quads to show you the size because this palette is not as big as I was expecting, but I've forgotten to do that. However, on to the goodies. This was released in the States, as usual, some time ago, so I was reading about it, looking at the photos, thinking that it was not a palette where I was particularly attracted to the colours. I'm just going to cover over the mirror so you don't get a peek of my face to shock you even more than an eclipse. There is the palette, and as I say, I was not so attracted to it when I looked at the reviews and the photographs, and I spent some time yesterday in the shop kind of playing with it and dithering, but I will say I got it in the end really because I've got nothing like it in my collection. And I had a little play with it last night and a little play with it this morning, and I have to say I'm really warming to it. First of all, obviously, the immediate attraction is the really pretty engraving on it. The sales assistant gave me the spiel that this is to celebrate the creation of the 2.55 handbag. And I said, well, yeah, I can see that the engraving of the chains is meant to be like the chain and metal handles on the 2.55, but where did they get these colours from? And she said, oh, those I think were the colours of the original bags. I have to say I'm a bit dubious about that, but, you know, maybe she's right, I don't know. I was immediately doubtful about this palette because I'm not keen on black eyeshadow. I very rarely use it, and I've got more than enough of it in various palettes to last a lifetime, and this is yet another black, although it's quite a dusty black. It's looking not so dusty there, looking very black. As I say, I'm not a huge fan. I don't use black a lot, and so that, you know, is a bit of a bummer to me because it's a waste of one shade. But I know some people like it. The two end ones are kind of interesting. Although we've got good daylight now, what I will say is looking at all of these shades in electricity, there is a huge amount of tiny particles of shimmer which don't show up in the daylight. And in fact, the texture of the shadows, even close up, we're not getting it. Is almost as a kind of flaking on the top, I suppose to emulate the consistency of leather. So very pretty in the pan, but in electricity, I'm really not wanting to disturb these gorgeous ropes. You know, it just looks there like a kind of ordinary mid-toned white. But there's a lot of quite pretty shimmer. And the same with this lemon in the pan to me. And lemon's coming up a lot in quite a few collections. It was in the By Terry palette that I didn't buy, the other one. And I was quite taken with it when I swatched it. But this actually, more on the eye even than here, shows up really as a kind of yellow gold shimmer. Um, so already, those are not looking that impressive on the hand. However, they do work very well, I've found, in my kind of one use, blending into the darker colours. Now, the two colours, I was first of all quite excited about the green. I like greens, and I haven't really got anything like this in my collection. It's a dark grey teal. Um, Again, swatching on the hand, it just looks like a smudgy grey, really. So quite a useful shade, but not particularly unusual. I don't know whether it's my slightly oily eyelids, but it definitely looked a bit greener, but a definite grey green on my eyes when I used it last night. I do actually have blue-grey eyes, so it's quite a good colour for me, better than a true blue. And then finally, my favourite, I think, and I'm not a purple lover, so this was why I was not keen when I saw it. A really nice, multifaceted aubergine rather than purple or plum. Now again, swatched on the hand, just looks like, I don't know, an aubergine, but without the kind of multi-dimensional that I hope you can see a bit more on the finger. Now, I think there's something about the dryness of the skin on the hand that doesn't show up the texture that you do get on the eye, certainly if you have a fairly oily eyelid, as I do, or you use the right base. But there's definitely more colour differentiation on the eye. And I really liked the look that I was able to create with these, without looking too out there, but kind of a bit different last night. So I have to say, having dithered about buying the palette, and it's early days yet, and I haven't worn the eyeshadow all day to tell you, how it wears. I was just doing, practices last night in the mirror. I'm quite excited about this. Another thing I've forgotten to do is pull out one of my favourite Illusion d'Ombre that I'm always going on about, which is Diapason from last year's spring collection, I think. Great favourite of mine, and this plummy, purpley aubergine reminds me of that. If you've got the Diapason, I think those two work really well together. Again, I was playing last night, putting a touch of the Diapason, which is much more glittery, on top of that, and they look perfect together. So, for me, this is a cautious yes for this palette. It's not cheap, £47. And as I say, I don't know, I was kind of expecting a bigger palette out here, the old 5 colours. It's a while since I've bought one. I seem to remember like that, but it's plenty of product, who uses up all their eyeshadow, but it's pricey, and it's maybe not a colour combination that you're going to use every day. And if you're like me and not keen on black, that's a whole wasted shadow. So those are the kind of negatives. But I do think it's worth having a play if you can see it in the shop. And certainly if you've got the right eye colour, it is an unusual palette to have, and just, very, very pretty if you're a collector. Other exciting news from Chanel. I did get a sample. I got several samples, but this is the one I was interested in. A reformulation of the CC cream coming out in May. SPF 50, for goodness sakes. Very high SPF, which is good news. I was given a sample in 30 beige, so I'm guessing that the shades are meant to mirror the Les Beige powders. There's a whole Les Beige collection coming out in the summer with bronzer and about 6 nude polishes, for goodness sakes. Now, I was excited because I loved the 2012 CC cream. I'm a bit disappointed that this is a reformulation, because what they specifically said about this is it's much lighter weight. I actually liked the creaminess, the slight tackiness of the old CC cream, which was fantastic in humidity, I found. Really stayed in place and gave me a gorgeous looking complexion. But I'm excited to try this. I do like their BBCC efforts. I'm going to have to... It's a bit dark for me. I would probably be a 10 or a 20, although it's supposed to kind of bronze you up a bit. It feels nice, but very strong smell. I mean, you have to like the Chanel smell to like these. I happen to, but it is marked. So I thought that was quite an exciting potential release. I'm going to have to try and find backups of the old CC cream. I've nearly used up my tube, and I do like it a lot when on holiday. So I've also got the Missia perfume, a big sample, but I think I'll talk about that separately because this is getting a bit long. So until I see you for that, bye for now.